Earth is called the blue planet for a reason. There's water everywhere, but barely any of it is actually drinkable. Now that sounds insane. After all, 71% of the Earth is covered in water. The problem is that a whopping 97.5% of all water is salt water, and not fit for drinking unless you like hallucinating while you dehydrate from the inside out. Astonishingly, humanity survives on just 2.5% of available water, which is actually drinkable. But it gets even worse. Of that 2.5% of fresh water, 68.7% of it is locked up in glaciers and the ice caps. And no, global warming isn't going to make that water any more available, because the moment it runs off into the ocean, it's too salty to drink. Another 30.1% is buried deep underground in aquifers, most of which are either too far down or too expensive to access. That means out of the 2.5% of all the water on Earth, only 1.2% of that is actually available for humans to gulp down, found on the planet's surface in streams, rivers, ponds, and lakes. Now throw in pollution and the impact of climate change, and that figure begins to rapidly shrink, while 8 billion people compete for what's left of the world's fresh, clean water. That's why delivering clean water is so important. The daily consequences are even more terrifying than you realize. Did you know that over half of the planet, 4.4 billion people, are affected by water scarcity or water quality issues? That's right, from the moment you were born, you had less than a 50% chance of landing somewhere that you could turn a tap on and expect unlimited clean drinking water. 703 million people, 1 in every 13, have no access to clean drinking water at all. Another 2.2 billion are left to fend for themselves, relying on homemade wells or polluted water sources because they lack access to even the most basic water sanitation and management systems. And that comes with a devastating cost. Every single day, 1,000 children under the age of 5 die from either lack of clean water or diseases caused by poor sanitation and hygiene linked directly to water scarcity. And if you think that the impact of water is only on health, then you're underestimating how fundamental water is to our very way of life. Across the undeveloped world, women spend an average of 250 million combined hours every single day walking to water sources and bringing that water back home to use. That means that 250 million hours every day that could be devoted to education are lost simply because of a lack of proper plumbing. Those lost education and work hours result in a very real economic impact, with billions lost in economic activity every year simply because of the need to haul drinking water back home. A 1-2 punch for the economies of developing nations. But you can be part of the first generation to tackle this water crisis head-on thanks to MrBeast's newest initiative, which the infographic show is proud to partner with, Team Water. If you remember, 5 years ago, MrBeast's Team Trees raised over $20 million to plant 20 million trees around the world. The result was a massive tree planting campaign that spanned the world, from the United States all the way to Nepal. It's estimated that once all these trees reach a maturity, they could pull in as much as 1.6 million tons of carbon and 116,000 tons of pollutants right out of the air. Next up was Team Seas, which aimed to remove 30 million pounds of trash from oceans, rivers, and beaches around the world. By the time the full effort wrapped up in 2024, Team Seas had exceeded their goal by 4 million pounds. But even better, funding led to efforts in 4 different countries to intercept plastic waste before it even gets to the ocean. Not so bad for a viral YouTube campaign. And now you can be part of the next wave of global stewardship with Team Water, a campaign aimed at bringing drinking water to 2 million people in desperate need. The goal is bigger than ever, and this time Team Water is looking to raise a whopping $40 million in what will become social media's biggest humanitarian campaign ever. This is the infographic show, so you already know that we're about to hit you with some harsh truths, like how the lack of clean drinking water is devastating health and wrecking economies around the world. But what you might not know is that water scarcity isn't just a humanitarian crisis, it is about to start wars. The United States military has been silently preparing for years to fight what it calls water wars. No, that's not a super soaker free-for-all, with A-10s dropping water balloons in close air support, though honestly, that might be the best use of taxpayer money that we've ever heard. Instead, the Pentagon is bracing for real-world conflicts, wars not fought over oil, but over access to clean water. And one of the biggest flashpoints will be Africa. The continent is no stranger to water problems, but what many people don't realize is that it's about to cause a full-blown major military conflict. The Nile River Basin has provided water for drinking and agriculture since the dawn of civilization. But increasing water pressures are threatening to see the mighty Nile River dry up. Ethiopia has been racing to secure its own water supply in the face of climate change and to generate much-needed electricity to fuel its growing economy. And the solution comes in the form of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The massive project generates enough power to end Ethiopia's long-standing energy crisis, and it even allows it to export electricity to neighboring countries. But there's a problem. Downstream countries aren't happy. Sudan and Egypt both fear the dam will drastically reduce their share of Nile water, triggering severe drinking water shortages and crippling agriculture. Tensions have gotten so serious that Ethiopia has installed air defense systems around the dam, just in case Egypt launches an airstrike to destroy it. Over the historical Tigris-Euphrates River basin, controversies around dams and water conservation is affecting Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. After constructing its southeastern Anatolia project, which involved the installation of multiple dams, downstream flow into Syria and Iraq has reduced significantly, directly impacting their agriculture. But dams aren't the only thing fueling conflict, because right now a very real fight is already underway, and climate change is right at the heart of it. Take the Lake Chad Basin, which spans Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. Due to severe water loss, an estimated 3 million people have been displaced, and 11 million more are in need of humanitarian aid. The actual rate of loss is staggering, with Lake Chad decreasing in size by a whopping almost 90% since the 1960s. The security situation in the Lake Chad Basin and climate change's specific impact on it is of such a concern that in 2020 the Marine Corps University Press featured an essay on the matter. The essay, as well as other Marine Corps strategic reviews, follows a new model that forces war planners to take climate change into consideration in assessing brewing or ongoing conflicts and how it already is or will impact them. And water scarcity is at the top of the list of factors expected to fuel these conflicts. But while it is true that water is drying up due to a changing climate, it's also true that we can use new technologies to unlock water resources in even unexpected places. The most obvious solution to the world's water crisis is to simply turn the majority of the water that we can't drink into water we can drink. This is accomplished through a process known as desalination, and it involves the relatively simple idea of removing salt from water. Nature already does this through the water cycle, evaporating water from the ocean and bringing it down as rain. There's already between 16,000 and 23,000 desalination plants in operation around the world, generating more than 95 million cubic meters a day. Saudi Arabia leads the world in desalination, which it uses not just for drinking water but for agriculture as well. Nations like Israel, however, are almost entirely dependent on desalination, given their lack of robust fresh water sources, and heavily use it in farming as well. The problem with desalination is that it is still very expensive and energy intensive. Modern methods like reverse osmosis and solar distillation have replaced traditional boiling, and it helped lower energy costs, but it's still a major energy investment. That makes countries more reliant on fossil fuels, fueling one of the major causes of water insecurity. And then there's the discharge, which is made up of brine, water loaded with salt and other minerals at high enough concentrations to be lethal for the local sea life. The water itself is safe for drinking, but due to high amounts of certain minerals, it could pose a problem for people with certain health conditions. For rural communities affected by a lack of fresh water, the solution is often to simply dig a well. Thousands of new wells have been dug across rural South America and Africa, largely financed by philanthropic efforts. These wells tap into underground aquifers and can provide a long-term source of clean drinking water. But aquifers are not limitless and are increasingly coming under serious stress. Aquifers typically refill via water seepage or even full-blown underground rivers. Via natural means of replenishment, aquifers can supply water for generations. But as the human population and industries grow, the stress it puts on aquifers can be too much for natural replenishment to keep up with. The California Central Valley Aquifer, responsible for feeding some of the most productive cropland on Earth, has experienced such a dramatic decline that the land itself has sunk as much as 28 feet in places. Iran and the wider Middle East is facing a similar problem, with massive aquifers lurking hundreds of feet below the ground being pumped dry. It's a global problem, as humanity greedily sucks up the water that took hundreds or even thousands of years to accumulate in a single century. But it's not all hopeless, because recent studies and new water management techniques have shown that the decline of aquifers can be slowed, stopped, or even reversed in some cases. A study by UC Santa Barbara looked at nearly 1,700 aquifers around the world, and they found that 36% had declined significantly between 2000 and 2022, shrinking at an average rate of about 4 inches per year. Only 6% of aquifers saw significant water growth, and the rest remained steady. Perhaps unsurprisingly, aquifer water loss was the heaviest in regions where groundwater was being used to grow crops. Adding fuel to the fire, the study discovered that over 80% of regions with rapidly declining water levels also experienced a drop in rainfall over the last 40 years. Better water management techniques helped reduce or even reverse aquifer loss in some regions, though. Strict regulations helped to better manage water depletion, and importing surface water from nearby lakes and rivers allowed some aquifers to recover. In other places, water was pumped directly back into the aquifer from surface water sources during periods of high rainfall. If humanity wants to keep enjoying a reliable access to water and the food that depends on it, we're going to need to seriously invest in smarter water management. That's especially true as the world enters a worsening era of global warming, which is only going to put more pressure on the already stressed water supplies. But there's a reason for hope. In places like Arizona, New Mexico, and Iran, better water management techniques have actually seen aquifers rebound from catastrophic lows, showing that a careful balance is possible. This is ultimately the mission of Team Water. Not just to bring fresh drinking water to millions of people in need, but to create a culture of education where communities better learn to manage their water use. Together, we can not just make sure everyone has a drink when they need one, but that humanity as a whole learns to better manage a resource that is the key to life on this planet and to our shared prosperity. If you want to be a part of the solution, head on over to teamwater.org and donate. Or share this video with friends and family and let them know that water management is important to all of us. How worried are you about water scarcity and its impact on the future? What do you think it'll take for the world to take this issue seriously? Let us know in the comments. Now go check out how we all helped make the world a better place 5 years ago. Planting 20 million trees will actually have this impact. Or click on this other video instead.